What's good, everybody out there on YouTube? This is your man, Shattuck Stick, dropping some hot frog on this mic. You're watching Jet Set Shattuck, and in today's video, we're actually just going to talk about why gaming isn't fun anymore. I know this is one of those videos that, seems like it's just saying, gaming isn't fun, and I'm tired of the way games are. But really, I think there's a set of circumstances that just makes gaming currently feel not as fun as it used to be. And to be honest, I think I've personally broken this mold, and I want to give my take on how we should and why it is the way it is. But don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Let's try to get to 200 subs. But let's start off with the very first topic, and I think it's because AAA gaming is a big issue. And what I mean by that is games are getting much bigger and, in terms of cost and all that stuff, but they're not getting much better. That's not to say that there aren't great AAA games coming out. That's just to say that, it feels like the sector is getting burnt out. Like if it's costing, $300-400 million to make a game that looks, minuscule amounts prettier than a game that you released 5 years ago, with the game not being that much better, I think we have an issue. On top of that, I feel like a lot of people think it's the only way to enjoy games when it's not. But I think the greatest example of this is actually the Horizon series. I liked the first Horizon game, Horizon Zero Dawn. And then I bought Horizon Forbidden West. To be honest, I think Horizon Forbidden West is a proper game. It's a good game. But my experience as far as like going from the first game to the second game was not elevated so much so that I felt like it was this massive generational leap, especially considering that the game is actually on the PlayStation 4. I actually bought a PS4 copy, never played it on my PS4, and wound up playing it on my PS5 once I got my PlayStation 5. And then when I played the game, I was like, wow, they spent a lot of time on making the game marginally better. And in some ways actually kind of worse. And I'll talk about that in a second. That's mostly because games are becoming also bigger. I say they're not getting better because they're getting bigger. And what I mean by that is not only just in cost, but it feels like every game that comes out nowadays has to be some big open world 200-hour adventure made to waste your time. That's not to say that, games that are long are wasting your time. I mean, Metaphor ReFantazio came out and it's getting rave reviews. I couldn't personally play that game right now where I am in life because I can't spend a ton of time at home playing games because the way my work schedule is. But what I'm saying is every game feels like it's striving to be what Breath of the Wild and, later on Tears of the Kingdom was, and that it was a big open world with a lot of things to do. There's actually nothing inherently wrong with that. I think the way it was done in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom was great. But I felt like those games, at any point, I could put the game down and feel fine about where I was. Like Breath of the Wild, I spent hundreds of hours on that game when it came out. Once I was done with it, I was done with it. I beat the game and spent hundreds of more hours playing it after that because I enjoyed it. Not because there was a massive checklist that I had to tick off. I think Ubisoft games fall in that kind of category where it feels like they just put an open world, drop you in a map, and give you a checklist of things you need to check off rather than making fun and interesting things to do in that world. I mean, Tears of the Kingdom, I really love that game. About 40 to 50 hours, maybe 60 hours in, I decided that's enough for me. I really like the game. I found it fun. There's some other stuff coming out. I think at the time it was Final Fantasy 16. So I put it down. And while I may go back to it, I don't feel like, I didn't have any type of closure with it, that I didn't feel satisfied playing the game. Let's go back to Horizon Forbidden West. I haven't beaten that game. I don't feel any type of closure with it, though. I just feel like my time wasn't respected. And that's what I feel like happens a lot with these games. Your time isn't respected. And I feel like these game devs have to do better in that regard if they want to make these big open world games, or just make something different. Not every game has to be a big open world 200-hour adventure. Can we start getting, the 12-hour AAA games again, the 6-hour AAA games again? I'll give Call of Duty this. It comes out every single year. But when they drop that 6-hour campaign, all you have to do is sit there and lock in for one day and you enjoy yourself. I can't say that with that many other franchises, and I think that's the issue. The next thing I want to talk about is really forever games, or games as a service titles. I actually am going to speak from experience on this one. I feel like this is probably one of the biggest issues in gaming right now. and it kind of compounds with that AAA, thing. Concord is the best example. Concord, Sony spent nearly $400 million on that game just for it to flop, for it to sell basically under 10,000 units. That's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. They sold a $40 game. The game didn't even sell, I guess, or do 1% of what it needed to do to earn its money back. And the studio closed down because of it. That's the case with a lot of these, games as a service titles that come out. But when they hit, they really hit. A great example is Fortnite. Now, I'm talking from my own experience. These games are made to suck you in. They are black holes. They're not made to really make sure you have fun, though you can have fun. I like Fortnite. I like the gameplay. But at the end of the day, they want to keep you on the game because your time is money. You can be advertised to in that game, and you will eventually spend on that game. For the longest time, I played Fortnite without dropping a dime. But then in Chapter 2, I believe Season 5 or 4 or 6 or something around there, the one with the hunters and Lara Croft, I spent $4, and now that's probably ballooned to like a few $100 over time, of course. And that's because of a few things. Battle passes. Fortnite is still the best battle pass in the gaming industry, but a lot of games have implemented some type of battle pass to get you to kind of stay on the game. You spend a little bit of money and you get a lot of reward for just spending time on the game. Mind you, they've gotten your $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, but you get 50 skins out of it. That didn't take them probably that long to make, and some of them are just probably variations of the same skin. So now you get in this consumption loop. You're spending time on the game. Oh, wow, look, they put this character from this other franchise in the game that you really like. Oh, man, I've got to have that. But now that skin costs like $20 for all the cosmetics included, or just the skin itself sometimes. All right, I'll spend $20 here. It's fine. I got the money. Next week, they do the same thing. Oh, man, I got $20. I'll spend that. The next week, they do the same thing. $20. I'll spend that. The next week, they've got another skin. It's $10. I'll spend that. And before you know it, you spent $80, $90 on the game in the span of that 1 month. Again, this is how they get you. And that's really what they choose to achieve. Someone who will consistently spend money on the game and spend a lot of time on the game. Because advertisers will pay to advertise to them. And you'll pay for the stuff they put in the game, no matter how good or bad. The next big point I want to talk about is the discussion around games online. Just in general, I feel like gamers like to argue, and this is one of the most fun parts about, being online and playing video games and talking about them. You get to argue. But I feel like with a lot of the sad news with studios getting closed, studios getting absorbed into the big three especially, there's not much great to talk about. And then with the anti-woke grift or the right-wing grift entering the gaming sphere, it's just made things a lot worse. Before Sonic X Shadow Generations came out, I remember seeing, Grums and other, super right-wing people on Twitter, or the anti-woke crowd on Twitter, complaining that Rouge the Bat has, her back skin covered up a little bit and her cleavage covered up. Mind you, it's a kid's game. Nobody realistically cares as far as grown adults are concerned. But they cared, especially those in the Sonic community. Those in the Sonic community didn't care. But, it's the anti-woke, right-wing grift crowd that cares about it. They think it's so horrible that, they covered up, a bat's cleavage. Who cares? But dumb stuff like that happens every single week has made gaming and just like talking about video games online not fun. And that's coming from someone who is argumentative. I have a whole nother channel dedicated to Sonic, so I can deal with it. My last videos, the ones on Sony, people were sitting there arguing in the comment section. I mean, I'm reading it. Some of them I went back and forth with. But at the end of the day, that's something that's just light. I'm talking about, I'm tired of Sony not making games. PS5 obviously has games. You're clickbaiting me. I'm like, come on, man. You're sitting there whining about the PS5 having them, or whining about my title instead of playing games on the PS5. Jokes aside, I just feel like people like to argue, but in general, it hasn't been constructive or productive in any way, shape, or form. So it's just made gaming just worse. And then I think the last one is just very important. This isn't, a topic as to why. It's how do you fix it? And it's really to just Play the games you like. I feel like one of the issues is people are going out of their way to, they have to play the AAA experiences. They have to play every game that comes out. They have to experience everything. You have to be playing a live service game. You have to be doing this. You have to be doing that. You don't. Like I talked about Fortnite, how I got roped into that. I eventually stopped playing it. One day I realized I'm not enjoying myself. Let me stop. I almost got roped into Zenless Zone Zero the same way. I was enjoying it for a really long time. And then I realized I was getting on the game to hit a checklist so I get my dailies and so I get my stuff. Oh, I'm not enjoying the game. Let me hop off. And I feel like I'm going to make a video on this soon, but I started playing this thing. This is the Anbernic 40XXV. And to be honest, it's one of the best things I think I've ever bought as far as gaming goes, because I've gone back and I played a lot of older games. It's an emulation machine or whatever. And I realized I don't think about whether this game is AAA, AA, budget, indie, etc., etc. I just care if it's a good game or if it's a game I like. Even if I think it's a good game, if I don't like the game, I just stop playing it, delete it. Waste of my time, waste of my existence. Some people may say, oh, you got to play games that you don't like. No, you don't. This is why people are miserable, because they're playing games they don't like. If you know you're going to like a game, you play the game and you wind up liking it, great. Keep doing that. When you sit there and you play a game and you play just because you feel like you need to talk about it, have brownie points. Oh, I played that game. Oh, it's the next big thing, so I have to play it. You don't. Play the games you like and play the games that you want to play. Like, once I started realizing that, I stopped falling into a lot of, these traps or just getting upset about gaming. Like, there's a while where I felt like gaming is fucking shit. But no, to be honest, this is the best time to be playing video games. We have so many games. We have such a rich backlog of games just from history. Games are getting re-released over and over again. Both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles are backwards compatible with their previous, their whole previous generation of games. The Nintendo Switch 2 is coming on the horizon, and from what we know, it's going to be backwards compatible. And we have a wealth of games via Steam from all basically top points and times in gaming history. So what I'm saying is, start playing the games you like. Stop worrying about the online arguments about whether something is woke or anti-woke or whatever, or just, or my bad. But what I'm saying is, start playing the games you like and the games you want. Start worrying about if a game is woke if you're one of those losers. You don't need to play every AAA game. You don't need that battle pass. You don't need to waste 30 minutes a day doing dailies. You don't need to do any of that. Just play video games and you'll have fun. This is being your man, Shadowstick. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Share this out with your friends, and remember, Hot Faraga turns to Club Zaga. Check out some of my other videos. Watch my Sparking Zero video. I think it's pretty good and sums up my opinions on Dragon Ball Sparking Zero pretty well. We're out of here. Peace, and have a good one.